Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Captain Chopra with the DAF CGOC. Thanks for joining us. We'll get started here momentarily. Mr. McKinnon, just a quick comm check. Can you hear me?
I'm clear.
Awesome. Again, thank you. I want to respect your time, sir. Thanks for making time for us. As we get started, just a quick introduction, who I am, Captain Chopra here, currently work at the CRGO at 621st Continuous Response Group at Joint Base McGuire Diggs Lakers, New Jersey. I represent the DAF CGOC. So the DAF CGOC, what do we do? What do we represent? So we are an organization representing more than 47,000 junior military officers of the United States Air Force, Air Force Reserve, Air National Guards, and the Space Force through the local councils on nearly 100 bases and military installations across the regions, including Europe, the Pacific, and then the CGOs are primarily our lieutenants and captains. We stand and support to promote professional development and community service through volunteer projects and networking events. So think of us as the overarching kind of help standardize the region CGOCs, and of course you got the base level CGOCs that are doing all the legwork at the base levels. So a couple of ground rules as we get started. This is another iteration of our professional development series. Today we're going to be discussing colors of money and all things money. This is a recorded session. Please mute yourself. Come on the comms. This is very informal, so ask any questions you have. And if your comms aren't working, you please feel free to type in the question and I can moderate for you. Today, we are excited to have Mr. McKinnon. He is our 621st Continuous Response Wings FM. He brings a wealth of knowledge, knows a lot about money. And with further ado, I'll turn it over to him to do a quick introduction, and then we'll get into our setting the stage of all things money and how CGOs can learn from that. Sir, over to you. Again, thank you for making time.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Captain Chopra, for that introduction. Just a little background on myself. I did around 21, a little over 21 years of military service. Retired in 2015. I got the ability to actually come back as a GS. Worked with the Army for about a year. Went to LRS for about 2.5 years as FM, and then over to AMAG for about a year. And I've been at the wing for about 6 years now. My staff, they don't work directly for me, but I have about 8 FM, 6 Fs, and I think I have around 3 or 4 civilians. Without further ado, if you guys have any questions, please put it in the chat, and I'll be glad to answer any of your questions that you have. Okay. So here's a quick overview. We're going to talk about O&M, operation and maintenance. If I say any acronyms that you guys don't understand, please stop me and I will be glad to explain. We actually have TWICF, Transportation Working Capital Fund, SIF dollars, Squadron Innovation Fund. I will also tie in the Commander's Readiness Funds and what we do and how we do it and how we receive those dollars. MILCON, I will go over this briefly because the CRW actually does not receive MILCON projects. We're a tenant unit on base. So when it comes to MILCON or SRM, Structure Repair and Maintenance Funds, we actually work with the servicing agency, Civil Engineering, on the 60th and the 87th for each coast. The Sabre office, OCO is now being changed to OOC, Operations Overseas, and also DWIC dollars, which was Direct War Enduring Costs. That replaced OCO ever since OIF and OEF went away.
Mr. McKinnon, just real quick. The slide is on my end still showing color of money. The front page hasn't changed on my side.
Okay, thank you. How about now?
perfect.
I apologize. Okay. And then the last thing is AFI-MSC. Just a quick thing on AFI-MSC. We actually work, I only receive AMC dollars. We are a BAO2, budget account BAO2 for mobilization, under the CRW. We don't really receive too much BAO1 dollars, only in like Civ Pay. We have a couple Civ Pay, items. And when SIF and SURF comes down, it's in BAO1 also. If we do receive BAO1 dollars, it's coming from AMC directly to me, and then I load the funds within our accounting system. Okay. Operation and maintenance funds. As you know, operation and maintenance funds is 1 year dollars. We start on 1 October and then we end on 30 September. I try to have everything completed by 1 September. Around 1 September, I'm just cleaning up the books and looking for additional dollars as you see unfunded requirements. Everybody's aware that on 1 October, until Congress and the Senate and POTUS actually approves the bill, we are under a CRA, Continuing Resolution Authority. Okay, what that means is your overall budget from prior year, your first quarter, 80% of that budget is supposed to be what's the only thing that's executable for each quarter until we receive ID, initial distribution. What that entails is that 80% of that is for mission critical essential only, no new buys. So if you have a new requirement, obviously going to send it up to me, and then I'm going to turn around, ask for permission to see if we could do it. But based off the rules of CRA, we can't usually buy anything that's brand new. But if it pertains to like your mission and operation, sure, we can actually purchase those items. Also for the CRW, this is going to be mostly CRW centric. So, and you stop me there for our programs, but we get funding for organized training and equip personnel for supplies, equipment, and TDYs and CivPay. Okay, so here's some of the, if you look at the bottom, the investment threshold set by Congress is $250,000. Currently, it is the maximum dollar amount for purchase of non-central management assemblies, repair parts, and other items of equipment which can be funded of operations maintenance counts. Items in this category are classified as expenses. Okay. Anytime you have an expense that's over $250,000, sometimes we actually have to receive additional dollars from 3080 funds. 3080 funds is over a threshold of $250,000. Also, we can actually submit that as a Form 9, and then we go to contracting and buy those items on a Form 9 document. Anything that's under $250,000, I also have a GPC expanded use card. It's called a Super GPC. So if you guys have 3 bids, GSA, you can send them and at the level of execution. And then if you're trying to go up to 250K, I forward that information over to contracting. Contracting reviews it, and we can purchase it on a GPC card. Micro purchase limit is $10,000. Then with that, as long as you got an 889, which means it's not made in China, then you can actually go ahead and purchase those items, micro purchase limit with a GPC swipe with your RA or whoever your cardholder is. Anything above $10,000 has to do an eCars request and has to get 3 GSA quotes, and the cardholder in your unit can actually purchase it up to $25,000. So the thresholds are 10, 25, and 250 at the wing. Okay, non-central managed assemblies, repair parts, and all items, equipment that are cost more than $100,000 are classified as investments. It must be funded out of procurement funding. Note that is not legal to acquire pieces of components of a whole or piecemeal manner in order to evade the O&M limits. Okay, you guys all heard of ADA. I say it all the time to a lot of folks. ADA is Anti-Deficiency Act. You got to have time, purpose, and amount for any items that you're looking at. No one in the military, other than anybody that's assigned appointed by the commander on a 577, can purchase or obligate, commit the government. That's an ADA violation. Anybody that's assigned on a 577 by the commander or DAO, GAO can authorize to purchase or execute funding. I only have the level to go up to budget review, and then it goes over to CPTS because of FIRE and audited purposes. So then it goes to the local CPTS, and they certify any documents, funding documents that I put in the system. Any questions on this slide?
Sir, generically, just one question. So when we talk about like the Air Force budget and hundreds of billions of dollars, it's a staggering sum. Beyond the numbers, like what is the fundamental purpose when this vast amount of money, and then how does it translate into achieving the Air Force's mission? Just very generic.
So what happens with us is that, okay, so when we actually submit our budget goes in for the CRW or as a whole, what happens is we submit an execution plan. Okay, and it's based off historical data. So we go in the system and I ask all the groups to provide me their requirements to do their mission. We have O&M and TWICF dollars. So what happens is I go in there based off historical data, identify all your requirements. I input them into a system, and then they go elevated up to AMC. AMC sends it to HAF, and then HAF sends it to Congress. When that happens, we actually, sometimes our budget, we submit it for $26 million. We come back, they look at our historical data, and they're only spending $12 million. So then I look at all your must pays. I go mission critical, essential only, and then I look at items that are must pays, like contracts. Like the AMAG has a SCO contract. It's $500,000. So I have to fund that first. And so on and so on. And I itemize, and then I submit that, and I add it up to $12.3 million. And then whatever the amount between the 12.3 and to 26 million is our delta. And then I ask you guys to identify those as our users. Once the execution plan is approved and I get the ID, then I ask everybody in October to create a spend plan based off of what the numbers I gave you previous year, or if there's a plus up, the amount of dollars I give you, and you ask for 5 million and say it's 2.6 million, then I create a spend plan and I ask you guys to create it for that 5 million. And around June, July, that's where you guys just show me or spell out your program or tell the story that around July you think that 2.6 is not enough, and you identified it in your X plan and spend plan. And then I try to ask the wing commander for additional dollars and then elevate that up to AMC and explain to them the importance of us trying to get money to do our mission. Am I off track, Chopper, or is that good?
That's good. No, I appreciate that. I didn't want to derail you there. Just our audience is being the lieutenants and the captains, primarily working at the flight or perhaps the squadron level. Just keeping it very broad with when it comes to colors of money. Just understanding, why isn't all money just one big pot? There's a reason for that, and how Congress kind of divides it up.
Definitely. Yes, sir. Yeah. So there's 4 types of BAs, budget accounts. There's BAO1 for operation, BAO2, which is mobilization for us because of our mission. We have a mobilization mission. We deploy. Our job as a CRW is natural disasters and homeland defense. So we get mobilization dollars. And then you have O3, which is AETC. That's for training. And then you have O4, research and development. I only fall under BAO2. And then when it comes, I'm going to go on to the next slide, which is the TWICF dollars. Okay. TWICF dollars, if any of you guys have already came from another unit or a flying squadron, the majority of their funding is TWICF dollars. And what it is in support of C-17, C-5, support, no KC-135 or no training costs. That's O&M. With that said, the way the CRW works, if you look at Chapter 6 of the guidance for CRW, we get TWICF dollars based off of mission position based off UMD. So if your position on the UMD is TWICF, you're going to use TWICF for everything. Okay, it's all your travel. You're going to use your TWICF to support. So I think in the CRGs, you have about 490 manning positions on each coast that are TWICF. So the majority of their funding is this. And also GAMS taskings. I think a lot of you are familiar with GAMS taskings. They also support TWICF dollars for travel. Now, do I get a little bit of money for supplies and equipment? Yes, I do. But those are for one-time buys, buying a large, like a generator or a tent or something that supports them. In garrison, the only ones that should be used in TWICF dollars for supplies and equipment should be the 2T2s, the aeroplanes. Any questions on this slide?
No, thank you for that, sir.
Okay, SIF, Squadron Innovation Funds. As you know, I think the Air Force a few years ago, they identified or generated or created this program for SIF. A lot of the young officers or whatnot will be running these programs off industrial or cyber accounts, CVI they call it. this is the program I tried to identify to my CVI office is that this is above my level at the wing level. I only at the wing level receive about $152,000. It used to be 202, but they created this new program called Vision, I think, for tokens. But anyways, I take the 150,000 and I divide it by the three groups with the three squadron. I know the squadrons within the groups, and then the young airmen or the airmen need to innovate and come up with innovative ideas for that funding. And then CVI, they oversee like AFWorks, work with AMC Innovation Office or HAF, and they are the ones that work behind the scenes trying to get additional items for any type of program that falls under civil. All I ask is that O&M does not offset SIF account. So SIF is usually, if it's a prototype, it's under research and development, which I do not receive. That's why we go above to Air Force to ask for that. But if it's in, I think, phase 3 and 4 off the shelf, then we can identify and ask for more SIF dollars to buy those items. I don't have a slide on CRF, but I'm going to talk about CRF, Commander's Readiness Funds. I receive about 250,000. I divide it through the three groups. And then Commander's Readiness Funds is exactly what it's for. If you have any UTC shortfalls, you have to do anything that supports the readiness process. That's the color of funds that you could possibly use. I'm going to give you an example. A few years ago, they went to MG, I think it was MG 19, and they needed some additional dollars, and I had CRF dollars. They let me use the CRF dollars to support MG 19 CRW function. Any questions on this?
No, sir. Thank you for sharing those personal stories too. I think that's what connects with the CGOs, understanding the impractical, tactical level inputs for the CGOs and how unit operations work. One of the daily frustrations that CGOs might be feeling or experiencing is just seemingly simple requests, whether it's buying a specific tool, attending a particular training, or fixing a broken door or something in their flights or squadrons. Sometimes those requests are denied because they're using the wrong color of money. Can you illustrate a common scenario that and explain the underlying financial constraint that's behind that and what causes those things to fall through or not? How can CGOs better use the understanding of colors of money?
Yes, sir. So when I go back to that execution plan, right, mission and operations, what I try to do is that if you guys ever have, as CRGOs or whatnot, you have requirements. Let's give you an example of UTCs. I am not trying to, if we have $40 million worth of UTC requirements, I cannot support, obviously with $12 million, I can't support all your UTCs. My 12 million might buy like expendables or consumables. But what's supposed to happen is, give you an example. If you go downrange, okay, go to Niger or you go to, one of those missions, right? And it's ESP coded. When you return and do reconstitution of those pallets and you find out that there's 15 pieces of equipment that are broke, worn, torn, soiled, whatever, or need to be replaced, then you elevate that information up to your resource advisor or your finance group. And you say, hey, I have $45,000 on the last mission that I went on that I want to charge against this mission. They send that information over to me. I elevate it up to AMC. AMC forwards me a funding ticket. I load it under that ESP code, and you guys purchase those items. Okay. Day-to-day operational identify mission and operation, like when you guys go to, I don't know, if it's not funded by AMC, if you go to Storm Flag or TD or JRTC or whatever programs that might not be AMC or command funded, and you guys have to fund it out of your own pocket, then that's what's identified identified with your execution plan. So that's why I always say I don't want you to penalize or suffer your programs, right? The 2.6 million or what we give you in TWICF dollars on items that could be purchased for other things that you need to do, like an O&M, like if you need to go to I don't know, offsite to do some type of training or some upgrade training that's unit funded. Or if you need to go purchase an item because you guys want to buy IEI. I'll give you an example. IEI, I think you guys spend almost $5,000 per personnel for their IEI equipment. We want to free that up. But if we keep using our money to purchase UTC items, then they're going to keep letting us do it. But we also got to understand that our O&M dollars are based off of a metrics, a goal. So look at that, like if you get 12 million, I have to report it as a win. Okay, so I have to report that every month that I'm above 8% every month, 25% quarterly. And then by the end of July, I have to hit an 80% obligation rate, not a commitment rate, an obligation rate. So that means in July, I either have to hit that mark or I have to report anything below that. I got to report what we're going to do to get healthy in the future. So it's that 80%, 20% rule by July. So in O&M, you have more flexibility. I know a lot of folks say, well, we use TWICIT. Your O&M is your ability to flex, the flexibility to purchase what you need. You just need to make sure the research that you do to go with it. Where I say that is that, like I said, if it's under the micro purchase limit of $10,000, you can go purchase the item as long as it's, you know, a valid requirement 889 approved. If it's like you said, Captain Chopra, when it came to Milcon or SRM, we don't get SRM dollars. Okay, we're a tenant on base. Okay, CE, the JBMDL and Travis own the buildings. So we have to go through the local CE office to purchase, do anything on the base. Now, minor maintenance like ceiling tiles, fixing an exit sign, fire extinguishers, we can use our O&M to do that. Okay. Now there's thresholds like servicing contract, service. If you require a service, you can only go up to $2,500. If you have a construction project, you can only go up to $2,000. Okay, but all I ask you guys to do when you put in a work order or you talk to your facility manager, have them do a 332, a work order in the system, submit it, but don't put contract by requested because they'll want you to pay for it. All right, so let the system do what it's required to do and let them do it. Now, what I always do is we have a Det 9 through AMC for AFIMSC. So if we have large projects, say we put a PTL number in, and this building is coded as TWICIT. So then I would submit a PTL, I'd say for like the skip or one of the buildings that we're trying to do to upgrade something like the HVAC or whatever. Then I would send to Mr. Caber, who's now retired, but whoever the POC is there, and I would send them the information, and then I would get it racked and stacked at AMC to send to AFIMSC to flow the money down to the 87th to execute that project. Any more questions on this?
No, sir.
SRM?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, over to you.
All right, SABRE, the acquisition of base engineering requirements. The United States Air Force uses a simplified acquisition of base engineering requirements, contract, fixed pricing, identify indefinite delivery, indefinite quality, IDIQ to fulfill engineering requirements on a variety of projects, ranging from small renovations to large scale infrastructure. I just wanted to cover this briefly, but this is what some of your servicing agencies support the CRW because we're a tenant unit. So this is not a cost that we incur as a CRW. Okay, OCO, as I briefly explained before, has been replaced with OOC and DWIC. For that purposes, if for the CRGOs, when we go out the door, you'll always hear me say to you guys or the UDMs, hey, look at the RIs, the reporting instructions. Okay, in the reporting instructions, usually around section 6 of the RIs, it'll talk about per diem, costs, all that kind of stuff, and there should be an associated ESP code with it. There's reporting instructions for everything: CENTCOM, CENTAF, Southcom, AFRICOM, Northcom, ECOM. They all have certain ESP codes that are attached to it. The Border Patrol right now is ESP code XA. If you guys don't give me this, or sorry, your UDMs or my folks that are working at the RA level, don't provide me this ESP code. The only one that's suffering is us as a CRW because we're utilizing our own money to pay for things that are attached to a mission. Okay, and the same thing goes with like MG, MG25, or some of the exercise like Storm Flag, Bamboo Eagle. We're finding out that AMC is funding a lot of these tasks. CRGO also too is, when you're trying to identify, airlift, please don't contract an airlift on, yeah, aircraft on me. It costs a lot of money. So, this needs to be elevated up to GATC or whoever you work with and have them identify, you can do off-station training, OST, organic airflow, brake tail, whatever that's in the mission, out there, that's who should be funding these missions, or the 305th AMW and the 60th AMW. And this is where we'll go into like line haul and airlift. The only type of we pay for is line haul. So if it's going by truck, yes, and line haul is a TMO function, so it's O&M dollars. You cannot use ticket money to line haul your equipment. That has to be O&M. But the catch is giving an example. You guys had a forklift that got tasked and it got tip fitted. So what happened was we actually turned around and it got to my level and I went and talked to AMC and they came back and said, why are you guys not funding this? And I turned around and says, well, because it's not us to fund. You guys tasked us to do it. What mission does it fall under? And they said, it's under 42. And I said, okay, we'll pay it up front, and then we'll JV the cost, journal voucher the cost from one line of accounting to that one, and then I'll receive reimbursement from AMC. So big takeaway on OCO, which is now OOC or DWIC, is that we can utilize these additional dollars and not be penalized with our day-to-day operational funding if we identify the mission right up front ahead of time with our CRGOs and our UDMs. Questions?
No, sir. Thank you. Just another reminder, really, our audience is not all particularly from CRW, so
Correct.
just keep
Yes,
it
sir.
generic, sir. Appreciate
Yep,
that.
yep. Yes, sir. All right. I think, yeah. Okay, so AFI MSC, again, I'm where I go with this, I don't have AFI MSC dollars. This is really technically operational dollars. I know at the base level, 87th and 60th, they have mostly AFI MSC money. I've worked with AFI MSC money with LRS. Similar information, similar stuff. It's just that, like, again, we have mobilization, we have a little bit more flexibility. But other than that, I'm gonna go to the next slide. And then here's the breakdown. All right, operation and maintenance dollars, that's what you're gonna see a lot as a whole, as the Air Force, it's 1 year money. Your mill pay, military folks, the mill PERS money is 3,500. I don't oversee mill pay. That's CPTS. I talked about the research and development, $3,600. Again, I don't receive it, but when it falls under that category, that's what I would actually request for. Procurement, if you look at the bottom one, 3080, there is a data call for this each year. Everybody gets it, and then we have to submit it to the command or whatever command you fall under, and we identify our 3080. I've been doing this over 30 years, and I think I've only seen 3080 once. It's very hard to get $3080. 3080 also does fall under for vehicles for Viscos. So they own the strings to the purse for that. And the only time you can buy a vehicle based off their regulation is with 3080 money. So we shouldn't be buying vehicles with O&M dollars. It's 3080. And then military construction is 3,300.
I would just like to add that this is probably the holy grail of your colors of money. This is probably the most important slide for studios to really understand how from Congress down to DOD and the Appropriations Act kind of help divide that up. I guess one question that comes to mind, sir, is there like an expiration date to the colors of money?
Absolutely, sure.
So
Yep,
so
and I'm
there's
gonna get to
a
that.
phenomena of use it or lose it. Can you speak to that, and how does that fall under the end of fiscal year?
Yes, sir. And actually, this is a slide that identifies the appropriation, and then the next slide, I'm going to get into that.
Let me not get ahead. Go over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. So I think I've already touched on this. Any questions on the D2 appropriations and their categories of how the funding is executed and spent? I think I've already touched on all this.
You did, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Captain Chopra, here you go. So what we do is $3,400 is 1 year money. Okay, 1 year money means on October 1st, again, We go down for systems change for 5 days, and then all of a sudden they tell me to load CRA, continuing resolution authority money. They give me 80% of my overall budget for that year for must-pay requirements. Then all of a sudden, as you guys know, if we've been in a little bit, then all of a sudden I get ID. Then I tell everybody, spend. I'm sorry, that's the way it works. And then I have to hit that 80% overall. And then at the end of the year, we do our closeout, and then I end up getting, hopefully if there's unfunded money, I go after unfunded money, and then I have to spend it by 30 September. Sometimes you can push that date probably by a few days unless they gave me, I got money last year on the 28th of September. I think it was over 10 million. Myself and my resource advisors, we worked very hard and we were able to get to the finish line. If I do not have my money in obligation by 30 September by midnight, I will lose it. Okay, so we do a lot of things behind the scene to get everything in obligation rates. We go into our GPC accounts that have pending charges. They move it to a more military obligation required document, a MORD. But they move it over and it sits on it. And if it, like I said, if it goes past the 13th billing cycle, I'm able to recoup those money when it posts to the next. I can move the money from prior year to current year so we can have more firepower the next year of funding so it doesn't hit the current year. Our research and development is 2 years. Procurement, the one I was telling you about, the 3080 and all that kind of stuff, that money is 3 years. And then MILCON projects go up to 5 years. So the appropriation at Congress and all that kind of stuff, after these years expire, we lose the money. So what really pertains to us is 3,400. And to go back on TWICF, Captain Chopra, on TWICF, how that works is early and often, sooner and later. I have to have money in expense by July, or there's a possibility that AMC can tax me for future years. What that means is that if I get 7 million and I only show 5 million in AEP or expense by July, I might only get 5 million the next year. So I could lose $2 million. I could get taxed at $2 million. Has AMC done that? No, not to me. But the GPC process, everything needs to be in AEP. So just by putting it on a funding document, if you don't get that item delivered to you, it will not be put in an expense, and it shows in a commitment, and then I still have to explain that too. Have I lost money? No. Can they? Yes. So TWICF is early and often, sooner than later. Any questions?
Just one that comes to mind. So we're talking about navigating the system, understanding the layout of money and fiscal responsibility. When we're talking about CGO empowerment, and when it comes to transferring these funds, is it ever possible to change the colors of money or transfer the funds between the different appropriations? And if that is, what is that process like? How difficult is it? And under what circumstances can that actually happen?
So that is a good question. We do not change colors of money. We do not, if they call it, please keep integrity between each PEC, program element code, and BA level. So the thing is if I identify something comes down and it comes down in a different requirement. Give you an example. There was a flying program for requalification, recall. It came down in BA03 money. I don't have BA03 money. Okay. We talked to HAF, they had the BA03 money, they sent money to AMC, and they're the ones that had the authority to move it to a different line of accounting, which you're explaining, and change it to a different color funds. They didn't change it, they just found a program element code that fell under that same category. Similar. So we try to keep the integrity within the PEC. That's way above my level if they were trying to change that. As a CRGO, your authority, again, I would say if you had requirements, when you guys do like an ADVON team and goes down range and you identify your requirements, the sooner you get those requirements to your resource advisors and approved by leadership, if they're identified above and beyond, or say it's a last minute thing that you need and you need a plus up in your budget, you can try to realign it within your program. Once the money leaves the wing commander approves my recommendations of your bogeys and targets, then the group commander owns it. And then after that, the squadron level owns their budget. So what you guys do at group and squadron level, unless I've been identified or it's been brought to my attention, they own the programs. So whatever you guys need as a requirement, then yes, but if it's something that's in the AFI, the DOTI, the MDEP or whatever that tells us our do's and don'ts, our lefts and rights, those are the restrictions and limitations set by Congress, or because we're all taxpayers.
Thank you for that, sir.
Sir. Okay, I think we've already talked, yeah, this is just a repeat again. You know, 3,400 if it's less than an expense investment threshold of $250,000. Again, 250 is a one single item that costs over $250,000. So if you have multiple items that add up to 250, you can still use 3,400 money. It's just that if the investment item is over 250K. And then again, research and development, if it's in a prototype or, you know, then we got to use that. And then again, we talked about a little bit about Milcon and SRM. Okay, and then here's your quarterly, you know, when it comes down to fiscal year process. Captain Trooper, I think we just talked about that too. The RAs, they work very hard. They try to get you the squadrons and the groups where they need to be. They work on a lot of stuff. We work a lot behind the scenes. Also understand this too, is if you have a funding document that's in UOO, I'll give you like a contract or a military intergovernmental purchase request. If you guys ever heard that, MIPR. And it's getting around the 5th year. They call that the canceling year, expired year. If you have a MIPR that say in this situation right now, I'm looking at items back to 2020. If I show something in obligation, a UOO that hasn't posted to expense yet, if I don't get that expense by end of this fiscal year, it'll hit current year expense. So if you have expenses and obligations in 2020 that have not hit expense by 30 September this year, they will hit 2026 bottom line. It'll be expensed to 2026. So it's very important. Does the CRW have any? No.
That's really good to know, sir. Just want to put a reminder for all of our audiences. Yeah, feel free to come on com. This is very informal. If you have any questions, put them in the chat or just ask here.
Okay. All right. Can everybody see the next slide deck? This is just three slides, just some notes that I put down. Can you guys see this?
I'll put up a board.
We got it, sir.
Okay. So this was a quick thing that a little guide that I gave to the commanders, do's and don'ts, when it comes to the CRW specifically for your essay or whatever you guys, if you guys want to read it.
Well, this is really good. No, this is exactly that was going to lead into our next question. What some advice do you have for our, young officers or lieutenants and captains and things that they could do now to better foster their troops and their formations for success when it comes to money?
So when it comes to money too, is one, I say, a budget officer or a RA or a FMR troop, when a new commander comes into the office, they're required within 60 days to give them a financial brief of their programs. Within 60 days that they take command. I always offer my support anytime. Like I have a new wing commander coming in right now. I'm giving him a brief on the 28th of July. I give him the status of funds. I give him his left and right boundary, everything that's required of me to provide him. What I always ask or tell the young officers is when I give an RA summit class on the last day, I give a 3-hour commander's block, but I always recommend that the officers and the SELs attend the course. It explains you need to get involved in what the bona fide needs are, time, purpose, and amount, ADA violations. Hopefully, you never get into a ratification, the left and right boundaries of the programs, like if you have paying agents or dispersing agents, because the FM troops might be working for you directly. But sit there, get into the AFIs. Work with JAG. If you have any questions, talk to JAG. The lawyers, and also the budget officer. We'll be glad to sit you down so that you guys don't follow the wrong path of trying to get things executed. A lot of things, like I said, money, you don't need to be scared of it. You just need to learn it and understand what it is. Because that's where you want to make sure you're buying the right thing and you're doing the right thing. All right, the don'ts. When it comes to TWICF don'ts, TWICF travel funds should not be used by O&M. If you make an error, O&M, yeah, with TWICF, that's fine. I can always correct the problem, but don't ever use TWICF for O&M. TWICF GPC cannot be used for other fundings, like example O&M, like I just said. We do not have SRM and Milcon money for TWICF. And you cannot buy, well, actually, we can't buy uniforms, period, anymore. But before, when we bought, TWICF should not be used for uniforms. Okay, I'll let you read this. If you see anything that catches your eye, let me know. I think we've already touched a lot of this. And here's your O&M don'ts. And all I ask you guys as captains and lieutenants is don't ever commit to government without approval. And really technically, it's folks that actually can do COs, contracting officers, they have a warrant. So they follow the rules and regulations of their programs and have the warrant to do it. So be careful, like when talking to contracting officers or talking to vendors, don't ever commit to them. Say, okay, please provide me a quote.
Mr. McKinnon, that's a really good one. Actually, I had a question for you, and you've already answered it. But when it comes to CGOs having that fiscal responsibility, even without having that direct budget authority, CGOs can certainly contribute to the better financial management, compliance, and the overall responsibility. And then the role that they play, of course, preventing that potential fraud, waste, and abuse. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. And they follow the FAR, federal regulation over at contracting. CRGOs do have, CRGOs. CRW does have at the CRG level, they have COs that have a warrant, but it's for contingency operations only, not for in garrison. So all else fails, CRGOs, please work with them and they can help you out. And when they're in the field, they actually bring my paying agents bring the cash, and the COs go and actually do the in place written contracts. They're called 44s when they're doing the mission on the road. So, okay, and I have one more last thing to show you guys on a timeline. So here's the timeline. So CRGOs, and actually this is across the Air Force. A lot of the stuff on here, I know this shows 24. I just brought up the slide as an example, but the dates maybe get pushed left or right. But here's our timelines. This really never changed other than the date does sometimes get pushed. But these are a lot of the TMTs or official emails that I send out and ask for updates and status and financial working groups and financial management boards and all that stuff. And when you always go to your staff meetings with your commanders, I'm sure your RA is usually in the room. Briefing status of funds, they should be pulling status of funds, if not daily, once a week, giving an updated status of where your budget is. Because I know they hear from me that, hey, you need to get your budget up. You need to get your budget up, because perfect world, how the budget you should be worked is like this. Like I said, there's quarters, 25%. I mean, if you want to do a perfect world and do 25, 50, 75, 100, there's timelines for me to brief goals and metrics to AMC. If you don't spend it, they could possibly take it. Have they ever done it in my career, taking money from me? No. But could they? Yes. So what happens is the wing commander has the ability to take it from the group. The group has the ability to take it from the squadrons. So if one squadron's spending more money, but the other one isn't spending any money, sometimes they can realign money with the squadron to cover those expenses of what they have because they have requirements. And so on and so on. So keep that in mind because sometimes that can happen. Have I ever seen it since I've been here in the CR? No, but that's the ability. Okay, that concludes my brief. If you guys have anything else or you want to reach out, I'm on Teams. If you want to send me an email, I'm always available to answer any questions.
Mr. Reagan, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Just one last, big key takeaway. If you can impart some wisdom and knowledge on our CGO core here, when it comes to all things money and colors of money, to our younger CGOs and if you were in our shoes right now, what would you say is probably the best thing for us to understand, and what concept, and then what they can take away from this for future Air Force success?
So when it comes to everything in as a CGO or CRGO folks, is educate yourself on ethics, fiscal law, and also it's what the fiscal law ADA is, Anti-Deficiency Acts, bona fide needs. Get into 65 series, look at the work with a good RA or a FMer. Also look with us as a budget officer if you want to come to some of our classes to learn a little bit more. When I saw that question, when it comes to the order of money, it's DoD. I mean, I've been doing this for a very long time, and it's always the same thing. And a lot of folks say to yourself, at the beginning we do a CRA, Continuing Resolution Authority. I keep foot stomping that. The appropriations, we're not NAF money. NAF money is like MWR and all that kind of stuff. We have appropriated funds. You can't use appropriated funds for certain things. You got to learn about, gifts and all that other stuff too. That'll tell you about ethics and fiscal law on that level. Talk to your JAG when it comes to certain things, when you're trying to do things. Good thing with the CR is not good thing, but look at your ATSA agreements when it comes to foreign nations. That's another thing. The only ones that use, and that's another good thing when it comes to it, the MSAS folks, they use 333 and 321 money. I don't get those funds. Those come from the embassy. Okay, and they work with the DOR office, and they for the funding. But that's for to support foreign nations and teach them. When they actually go and teach them, they have to use 333 and 321 money. You can't use O&M dollars. There's do's and don'ts and restrictions and limitations. Please, like I said, don't obligate the government with proper approval. Work with, follow the FAR, go into those regulations. Everything will follow the right thing. Or again, that's what I get, my job, that's what I'm here for. Go to your budget officer. If it seems not right, ask your budget officer or ask your FMer. If they don't know the answer, they'll go find it. I know I do. This job, years and years of experience, but I still learn every day because just like DTS, the DOTI, it actually sits there and teaches me about, who has the final authority. The AO has final authority. Who is this authority or pre-audits or variations authorized or any of those, all those acronyms that you guys always hear. Some people think, when you go down range and you're sitting in Germany, there's a DFAC across the hall. Across the road. And guess what? You're only authorized GMR or PMR. Why are people getting full rate per diem? Okay. Now, if they miss meals, then you do a missed meals form. And then the COCOM, or combat commander, will be the approving authority on that. But at the end of the day, when you're out on the road and on a mission, your A1 is the one that has approval to authorize you guys full meal rate or the meal rate. You can't just go and do it and give the authority. Not even the commander can do that because that's basically going outside. That's an ADA right there. So, I mean, my recommendation to you guys too is, like I said, follow that guy that has a lot of knowledge. Because networking and connections and relationship is the best thing in every job. And learning from somebody and they'll teach you the right way. I like people that like to be taught. You know, I like teaching people and helping people. So if you want to be taught and you need a question, I'm always gonna answer it. So hopefully that helped.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. There was a question that came in our chat, and it's to do with the evolving financial landscape. As we know, there's some changes in the White House, and then that, of course, impacts across the DoD. When it comes to money, particularly, are there any anticipated changes or trends in how the colors of money are managed, potentially being restructured within the Air Force? And especially as the service looks to accelerate some acquisition and integrate new technologies, how can they better adapt to the future threats?
That is a good question. Other than what I've already been, hearing and whatnot, the only thing I've heard so far is about waste, about billions of dollars in the DoD or whatever what that I've seen from, up at Congress. They're trying to pull, you guys have heard of the FIRE and auditing, but changing different colors of money. Other than what did I hear about, long-term contracts? I think they're like looking at contracts. Again, I don't want to overspeak. This is just Bill McKinnon. Because it's not in writing yet. Nothing's been brought to the table in writing yet. But there's discussion about long-term contracts, looking at, existing contracts and dollar amounts of how we can do things better, reduce costs. But it's all about savings. I think that's what they're looking at. Do I see anything that I've heard? No, I haven't heard really anything in writing yet, but it might be coming. Everything changes. We're always in the where we actually change, things change hopefully for the better. But as of right now, I have not seen anything in my years of experience other than that I receive O&M dollars. That's my 3,400 appropriation. It has to be for official business. And then, when it comes to other certain money, I actually go to those personnel or those POM program element managers and actually ask them for the funding or go to AMC for approval and if they have heard anything in plans and programs or in their QC or QA department. But if that didn't answer your question, I can find the answer for you.
No, certainly it did answer the question. Thank you again so much. I know we're getting short on time here, so just really want to say thank you so much for making time to be able to speak to our CGOs here, and a shameless plug to our audience here and our attendees. Again, the DAF CGOC is here to represent you all. If you have any particular thoughts on future professional development ideas, please pass them my way. And if you have any questions about this session today, please reach out. Mr. McKinnon, as he mentioned, he's very approachable. Reach out with any questions. Again, Mr. McKinnon, thank you so much for today.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.